So in this video, I'm going to be discussing the desktop client's task pane and how you can edit that to your particular needs. So you can see on the left here, we've got access to the quick search, the common tasks, the queues, the process and terminology, as well as the customer info sections. So I'll talk about these a little bit briefly. Obviously, the quick search is just for accessing particular records. If you have fields that are included in full text search, then these can be searched for. If the field is not included in full text search, then you won't be able to search for that. Now, obviously, to include a field into the full text search, we can just go into our admin client here. And let's say we want to search for company and we want to choose companies where the company phone is a searchable object. If you choose to tick this box, including full text search, and click OK, and then publish that blueprint, you'll now be able to search companies by phone numbers instead. So that's one thing. The next part is the common tasks section. So this section has out of the box these 4 links here, and a lot of them aren't particularly useful. So the home button obviously just does exactly what the home page does here. CMDB is the same as the tools CMDB up here. But what you can do with these is you can change them to be basically whatever you want to be, and I'll go through that in a moment of how you can change these one steps here. Queues section. Now queues basically does a assignment of incidents to users that are next in line to be assigned. This queue section here shows you how to do that, or where those queues are going to. The process and terminology section here, that's basically the description for the object that you're currently on. So if I were to go to an incident, I can see that the process and terminology changes to include the description of the incident. This is the out-of-the-box description. Any event that causes or may cause an interruption to service or may impact the actual or perceived quality of service, etc. So that information is just found on the left-hand side pane in the process and terminology section. And then the customer info section as well here, again, that's out of the box. That'll just tell you a little bit about your customer. So I can see that my customer for this particular request is the Streamline Partners default customer. So one thing that we might want to be doing with this task pane is editing it so that we can change it to see what we really want. We might not want to see the common tasks, or maybe we do, but we want to see different common tasks. The actions section here, which I didn't go over because it wasn't available before, but essentially the actions section is actions or one steps that are tied to that particular object. So the incident object has a number of actions tied to it. So if I click on the little arrow here in the quick template, I can see that there's, reset password, clone current incident, and close as duplicate. These are the out of the box actions that is provided with it. But you can change these actions, and I'll show you how to do that as well. So first off, I'm going to be changing the task panes and menu search to remove some of these, because I feel like a lot of the time this is too superfluous and you don't really need all this information sort of thrown at you. A lot of users kind of just want to see the things that are relevant to them. So what we can do, if we go to the edit default task panes and menu search section on the administration client, and we just click that there, we can see that we can customize the default task pane and menu search setup for different roles. So if I go into the default here, I can see that everything is enabled. And if I don't really want to enable everything, or I want to enable it only for certain roles, then I can do that here. I can choose to untick the use the default task pane setup and change what's available here. Another thing you might notice while you're doing this, obviously, is that the common tasks section has a configure option. So if I choose to configure this, I can see all of my one steps. So home, CMDB, create problem, chat request, and I can choose to remove this, for example. So if I remove that, I can also add another one. So I can choose from any one steps, dashboards potentially. So it's quite useful to put the common tasks that you're going to be using in this section, or that most users are going to be using. And as well, you can do that across every single individual role too. So if I wanted to go to my company end user, actually, let's go to our service desk. We go to the service desk here. I want the service desk to be able to use the common tasks section, but I don't want them to be able to create problems. I want that to be done by the problem manager or the service desk manager. So I choose that and I can click OK. Now that is hidden from them. They can still create problems if they have the security right to do so, but at least this way, it's not in their face because realistically, they might not be able to, they might not be using it that often. So what I'm going to do for the sake of cleanliness to me is to edit the company, to edit the default role task pane, and I'm just going to remove all of these except for common tasks because I'm not really too interested in the queues and the process and terminology and the customer info. I might leave the action placeholder there and just change these around, and I'll go through sort of how to do that. So I'll click OK here, and I'll just make sure that each of these roles are using the default task pane. Yep, and I'll click OK. Now, you won't be able to reload the definitions to see this change, but you will have to just close the blue pill right there. So now we can see that I've only got the quick search and the common tasks available to me. Obviously, if I go into an incident, I'll then be able to see the incident actions as well. But it does look a lot cleaner without those descriptions and the queues and the customer information that we don't necessarily need, especially if we're already on that object. We should already have that information generally anyways. So the next thing I'm going to talk through is how to change these incident actions here. So to do that, I'm just going to create a new blueprint. And let's say we're using the incident actions. I'm not going to publish this this blueprint, but I will go through the basics of how to change this. So if I go to the incident object here in the current view of default, and I choose Edit Actions, and go to Task pane, just here, I can see all of the options in that task pane. And I'm able to add a folder if I want. It's just by pressing this little drop down here, I can choose to add a folder. And I can make, a bunch of email templates for incidents or change these around so we're escalating to different people in different ways. Basically, whatever you want to be doing with incident on a daily basis is generally what you're wanting to put in this section. This just saves time instead of having to go into the incident and then choosing the one-step manager and then, sending the incident confirmation off or sending a particular email off that you have a template for. You can just put that into a folder by clicking Add Action here. So let's just name it Email Templates, and then we'll add a one-step action below it. And this action is going to be to notify and I have a new journal note. Now, this is an out-of-the-box functionality email that actually happens as a part of an automation, but I can put it in there if I really want to, just run it anyways. That's fine. The next thing that I should note for this is that you will have to publish this as a blueprint. So the change that I've made here, if I click OK, that's going to be my blueprint changes. And it just makes a change to that actions part of the incident. You can also provide disablement and visibility expressions on the task pane as well. So we can see that these two here, remote control CI and reboot computer, are both disabled. And the reason for that, I'm assuming, is because there is no CI linked, right? So if I go into remote control CI, we can see that the config item rec ID is empty. So that's why it's disabled, right? So it's only enabled when the rec ID is not empty. You can also choose to do visibilities, for example. So if you want to have something visible where the current user is a member of a certain team. So if I want them to be a member of the IT service desk manager team in order to actually see that option, then I can choose that there. Now you can use current user display name or current user rec ID. It doesn't really matter which one. As long as your team name here is correct and they are a member of that team, they will be able to see it. So that's basically all you need to know for the task panes. This is generally how you would create a change to each of these objects as well. So if I look in company in the task pane here, I can see there's nothing here. But if I choose to, I can add email templates and add a one-step action. And I'm not sure if there are any email templates for company. It doesn't look like there are, but I can just throw in any old one step that I want. Change the display text to email off to my supervisor. And that's all there is to it. So hopefully this helps with changing your task pane to make it a little bit cleaner and easier to use. Cheers.